We're back. Man, it has taken me forever to get to these videos, and I do apologize. I originally wanted to have these done by the end of February, but hey, it's a good goal regardless. We'll continue on. Continuing the top 100, we're getting into the top 50 today. So this is 50 through 41. Start off with number 50. Fun fact: I own all 10 of these on of these this little segment here. Number 50 has been on the list every year I've done this. It started off actually at number 11, just making out the top 10, and this is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Dropped to 93 last year, but it's back up higher, mostly just because I played it. And yeah, what a fascinating game. I had Suburbia a little bit earlier on the list. This is a very similar game in a lot of ways from the same designer, Ted Alspach and Bezier Games. Um, but in this one, instead of laying out hexagons, you're laying out these weird shaped rooms. Look at those. And then you're creating a castle, which is like both a better and also more stereotypical and therefore kind of a little bit worse theme than Suburbia. But really, the thing that makes this one really interesting is the prices of the buildings are set by one of the players. So you take turns being the master builder. The master builder is the one who sets the prices, and then if people want to buy a room, they pay it to the master builder. And so there's this really interesting. It can be frustrating for people, especially the first time playing, because it's really hard to do well. But I think at a certain point you're just like, oh, this is as good as it's gonna get. Have at it, and then you can try and be like, I want that person to pay me a lot of money for that room, so I'm going to put it here, but I don't want them to just like pass and take some money because then I won't get anything. Really interesting player interaction with that. This is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Number 49 has been on the list all 5 times. It was when the first time I did the list, it was number 10, which is right ahead of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is definitely the lowest it's been. This is Ticket to Ride. I don't know why it's lower than usual. I'm sure last year was 28, so not that much lower. I love Ticket to Ride, man. This is, in my opinion, it's one of the best gateway games. I guess introductory games, welcoming games, whatever you want to call them. The only problem with Ticket to Ride is it can take a little bit too long. Like it takes just a little bit longer than you might want to use it for a welcoming game. But honestly, it's a great game to play with people who are like into games, who are gamers. The USA map is one of my favorites, just the basic map. It's not my very favorite, but it has some interesting choke points, so you can certainly get in people's way. My favorite way to play is the Pennsylvania map. Pennsylvania has these stocks. Um, if you haven't played Ticket to Ride, I'm not going to waste time explaining everything. I will say it's kind of a take on Rummy, which is interesting. Hand management stuff, trying to get the cards that you need, and then route building, like route, one of those things building. Trying to go in between two different points that you need to connect. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend everyone give it a shot. If you have not, that's Ticket to Ride. Hey, that rhymed. Number 48 is my second highest Reiner Knizia game on the list. This is The Quest for El Dorado, also a deck builder. A deck builder where your hand size is 4, which is crazy. That never happens. Um, in Reiner Knizia, in Quest for El Dorado, you are searching through the desert. You're racing through the desert, I should say, trying to be the first one to get to El Dorado. Whoever gets there first wins. Um, One of the most fun things about this game, I like the mechanics, which is just like build up your hand full of these different better cards that let you move across the terrain types faster so you can start moving faster. But do you want early on to go for more money so that you can buy better cards so that then you can speed through right at the end? Or you want to just start racing ahead, which tends to be better. Um, One of the most fun things about this one is that the map is modular and you can like create your own little scenarios and things, which is neat. Or you can just like there's other ones you can download. The rulebook has a bunch of them. And you can create these really intricate paths to try and get to El Dorado. And it's like, how do you read this to know when you should buy the giant machete and when you should not? Um, that's Quest for El Dorado. Man, what a great game! I'm gonna play that one again soon. Number 47 was 26 last year, so it's fallen a bit, but it was new last year. This is Apiary. Apiary is from Stonemaier Games, one of my favorite companies, designed by Connie Vogelman. The only game of hers on the list, Wormspan is her other big one that it fell off the list this year. But in Apiary, you are playing Space Bees, and this is one of those games where it's kind of a bit point salady, meaning everything you could do gives you points, but everything you do is also kind of interesting. And so there's a lot of It's a worker placement game where when your workers get bumped off, they age. And it's not that your workers don't block the space. When someone else wants to go to that space, they age your beat up, which is actually kind of good for you. So you kind of want to get in people's ways so you can get some better actions. Um, and then there's like all this different thing. There's set collecting. There's building out this little hexagonal ship mat, which is basically like your home base mat. There's different factions. There's just a lot of interesting levers that you can move in the design, and that she does. Like Connie Vogelman has been like, she's created all these levers and then she's flipping them all up and down like a madwoman, which is great. Love it. There is an expansion to this game, which I don't own, and maybe I should pick that up. It might be really cool, but there's already so much content in this base box. That is Apiary. Number 46 was 41 last year. It was 46 the year before that, so I guess this is kind of where it lives. And I don't play this game very often, but this is Robot Quest Arena. I played this actually at Origins before it was released, like a couple of years before I played a prototype version. And I was like, this game is so cool. I'm going to pick this game up. And then I did. Actually, I traded for this game, I think, at either Origins or Gen Con. It must have been Origins from the White Wizard booth. Wise Wizard, that's what they call their company now. And this game is a deck building game, but it's BattleBots, the board game. So you have these, you can see these little kids standing around. It's kind of like cute BattleBots. So I don't know, BattleBots meets Pokemon or something. But you have these big chunky pieces here, and you're fighting it out in the middle of the arena, and you're trying to either go for points or damage, and if you damage the other people, you get points. You're trying to build up your capabilities, and it is a quick game too. Despite the box being huge, I got a couple expansions in here too. Real quick, real fun. It's just kind of a quick, bloody little, well, not bloody, oily, whatever robots bleed, oily what do they call it? Knife fight in a phone booth. Like there's not enough space, and you're gonna get in the way, and you're gonna die, and you're gonna kill, and it's great. Robot Quest 3. Number 45, for whatever reason, was missed the list last year, and I don't know why. I was on the list the other 3 years. I think I just hadn't played it in a while, and I still haven't played it in a while, and I don't know why. But this is Kingdom Builder from Donald X. Vaccarino. Second of his games on the list. He's got one more higher up, and everyone knows what it is. Kingdom Builder is this weird game where you're putting your pieces out on the board in different ways to score points, and you have again modular board with hexagons, kind of like Quest for El Dorado, but it's these kind of big squares full of hexagons, and all these different terrain types. On your turn, you flip over the top card of the deck. Whatever that terrain type is, you get to place 3 of your guys on that terrain type. But, and it's a big but, there are these special ability spots on the map. And the special ability spots mean that you can essentially give yourself ways to manipulate what you could normally do on your turn. Because in a lot of ways, it's a very restrictive game. And a lot of people don't like it because of that. It's like, oh, well, now I have to play 3 guys on desert. Well, yes and no. And you have to play where your guys are touching, but you can manipulate that before you start placing out. So it takes kind of a different way of thinking than what most people are used to. I find it really interesting. I have this version with a couple expansions inside here, which I actually haven't played. Played this a lot with Kenny back in the day. I need to break it out again. Kingdom Builder, number 45. Number 44 was 100 last year, and then it just shot right up. One of the reasons is because I played the expansion, which I do not own, but Jets does, and that is It's a Wonderful World. So this is like kind of a dystopian theme. The theme is very, very weak. This is a game where you are drafting. You're drafting cards. You're building out an engine full of like, I want to make this blue resource, so I'm going to get all these cards that will give me blue, and then I'll get cards that take blue, and then I'll just play them out there and get a bunch of points. Very much like, honestly, there's nothing too out of the ordinary in this game. It's kind of like, I don't know, like Seven Wonders meets Splendor, but it's slightly more complicated than both. Like there's a lot to think about here. Another one of those games where like not everybody likes it, I don't think, but it's just very interesting how you're trying to build your engine. This is a game I play on Board Game Arena sometimes against strangers and just get destroyed because I'm not nearly patient enough to think through all the implications of what I'm doing. I'm just like, yeah, this, and that's probably fine. And then go for it. And of course, the people who play it all the time just utterly wreck me. And it's great. I really like that. I don't have to win. I just have to feel like I'm doing cool things. And you do feel like you're doing cool things in this game. And that's like one of the number one things I like in games is when you're like, ooh, I did something cool. Number 44. It's a Wonderful World. Number 43, the other one on this list that has been on the list all 5 years, started at number 12, actually. So the three that were right near each other the first time I did this list back in 2020. This is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is one of my favorite drafting games. I'm sure there's something higher up. I didn't even bother to check ahead of time. But Seven Wonders is pretty much just a pure drafting game. Take a card, put it face down, and then everybody all at the same time flips it face up. Pass the hands, go move on and do the same thing again. Plays well with, in my opinion, like 4 through 7 people. There's a couple expansions I have. The cities expansion I always just keep in the box. I recently, for Christmas, got the Seven Wonders Armada expansion, which was very interesting. It kind of makes it a little bit maybe too complicated, but I definitely want to try it again. That's convenient. I didn't know I was going to talk about Armada, and then it's standing right there. Imagine actually having a space for all my games. Seven Wonders. It's a classic. This, by the way, not a game to teach people who are new to gaming. You might think it is. You're wrong. It's not. They won't get it. Start them with something easier like Sushi Go Party, then move on to Seven Wonders. Word of warning, I guess. That's Seven Wonders. Number 42 was 34 last year. This is Wild Space. This is a game nobody ever talks about. I never hear it mentioned from any of the board game like influencers, except for me. And I'm not a board game influencer. I'm just a dude making videos for his friends. Wild Space, like, what is it about this game? You are trying to chain together actions. You have 10 turns total in the game. And on each of your turns, you take one of your little tiny ships, you put it on one of these cards that lets you do an action, which is usually either draw cards or play cards. And so in different ways, it might be like, discard a card to play a card. Or it might be like, if you already have one of these emissary cards, you can play a card for free. Or you can draw 3 cards or something like that. Chaining together turns is so satisfying. In that you might have a hand full of 8 cards and you're like, oh, how can I make these work? Well, this guy lets me play this one, which lets me play this guy, which lets me play this one, which lets me draw a card. And so then you take a turn, and on your turn, you essentially do 5 or 6 turns all at once. And you're like, okay, I'm popping off this turn. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. It's also very much a trap because I usually win this game because the people I'm playing with, here I am giving advice to Marianne and Sarah. If you're just going for the big turns where you play a bunch of things, you're not going to win the game. You got to be okay with not doing that and just adjusting to what's in your hand. And even if you don't like some of those cards, you're like, I'll make it work this time. And that's how you win at Wild Space. Look at this is me giving away all my secrets. Also, fun thing about Wild Space: the first board game convention I ever went to was the fall of 2019. Terrible time to start going to board game conventions because then COVID started. It was PAX Unplugged, and this was one of the games they were advertising everywhere. I was like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't look too great. And then they were advertising everywhere. It totally flopped. Nobody pays attention to this game. Picked it up like years later on the secondary market. Turns out I really like it. Irony. And that's what's so ironic. Finally, for today, number 41 was number 49 last year. This is my highest Reiner Knizia game. This is Through the Desert. This is the all-play version. Only problem with this one, it's hard to make the box close, but it's a really good version. I also played the older version from, I think, Fantasy Flight Games. Played that one at Origins a couple years ago, and man, it's just a great game. Essentially, on your turn, what you're doing, I shouldn't say essentially, this is what you're doing. On your turn, you are placing 2 camels. It can be the same color, it could be 2 different colors. Everyone has 4 or 5 like caravans on the board where you're placing all your camels out. And when you place your camels on certain spots, they give you points. If you connect to certain things, they give you points. If you make like a little enclave surrounding like the edge of the board, it gives you even more points, and you get all the stuff in the middle. That's it. Because you're only placing 2 camels on your turn and everybody can see everything, it's perfect information. It is very much one of those games where you're like, oh, I really want to go to that oasis, and I hope Wendy lets me do that, but I'm gonna try and do this first and see if she'll let me do that in a later turn. And then she won't, and she crushed me. Good job, Wendy. I think it was Wendy who won that game. Someone will correct me if not. Anyway, um, that's Through the Desert. Yeah, highest Reiner Knizia game. He is one of my favorite designers. It's interesting that none of his games cracked into like the top like 20 or 30 or even 40. Despite that, so much fun. I love his games. Really great. And thank you for watching. That was. Oh, that only took about 50 minutes. It wasn't so bad. 50 through 41. I don't know when I'm going to get to the next one of these. So be patient. Jimmy, don't bother me. I mean, yeah, don't bug me about it. It wouldn't bother me, Jimmy. Sometimes I feel like I'm making these videos just for Jimmy. And then Jonathan gets mad. I don't shout him out. So shout out to you, Jonathan. Um, that's it. Bye.